You have done everything the advice tells you to do. You sleep, you drink water, you try to eat well. You have cut back on caffeine, you have set a bedtime, you have put your phone down earlier than you used to. And you're still tired. Not occasionally tired, constantly tired. A kind of tired that sits underneath everything. That is there when you wake up and still there when you finally go to bed. And the frustrating thing is that nobody around you seems to understand it. Because you look fine, you function, you show up. But there is a weight that does not go away, and you're running out of explanations for why it is there. Here is what most advice about fatigue completely misses. Sleep is not the only thing that drains your energy. It is not even close to the only thing. There are causes of exhaustion that have nothing to do with how many hours you spent in bed. Causes that are sitting in the middle of your daily life, quietly pulling energy from a system that was already running low. And until you understand what those causes actually are, no amount of sleep is going to fix the way you feel. The first hidden cause is one that almost nobody names correctly. It is called decision fatigue. And it is not about making big, important decisions, though those certainly cost energy too. It is about the sheer volume of small ones. Every single day, the average person makes thousands of micro decisions. What to eat, what to wear, what to reply to this message, whether to do this task now or later, which route to take, what to say in this meeting, how to respond to this situation. None of these feel significant on their own, but they all draw from the same cognitive resource, the same limited pool of mental energy that your brain uses for everything it does. And by the time you have worked through a full day of those micro decisions, that pool is not just low, it is often completely empty. This is why so many people feel like they cannot make a single choice by the evening. Not because they are weak or indecisive, but because the capacity for decision-making has a daily limit, and they hit it hours ago. The second hidden cause is more uncomfortable to talk about, but it is one of the most significant drains on human energy that exists. It is the chronic low-level stress of being in environments or relationships that do not feel safe. Not unsafe in an obvious, dramatic way, but unsafe in the quieter way that comes from spending significant time around people who criticize, dismiss, undermine, or simply never quite make you feel at ease. Your nervous system does not distinguish between a physical threat and a social one. When you're around someone who consistently makes you feel tense, judged, or small, your body goes into a low-level stress response, a mild but constant activation that costs energy, exactly the way a car idling in traffic costs fuel. You are not going anywhere, but the engine is running. And by the time you finally get home and get away from that person or environment, you're not just tired from your day. You are tired from the energy it cost you to simply exist in that space. This is why some people feel exhausted after seeing certain family members, even if the visit was not particularly dramatic. It is why some jobs drain people who love the work itself, because the culture, the management, or the relationships make it impossible to ever fully relax. It is why some friendships leave people feeling empty rather than replenished. The content of the interaction might be perfectly ordinary, but the nervous system was working the entire time, managing threat signals that never quite turned off. The third hidden cause is something that has become almost universal in modern working life, and that carries an exhaustion of its own kind that is entirely separate from physical or cognitive tiredness. It is the experience of spending significant amounts of your time and energy on work that does not feel meaningful to you. This is not about passion in the motivational poster sense. It is about the basic human need for a sense of purpose, for the feeling that what you are doing matters, that it connects to something larger than the task itself. When that is absent, when you spend hour after hour doing things that feel disconnected from anything you actually care about, the experience is draining in a way that has nothing to do with how hard the work is. You can be physically sedentary and mentally unchallenged and still end the day feeling completely hollowed out. Because the energy was not spent, it was slowly leaked away by the particular misery of doing things that feel pointless. And here is what makes all three of these causes so difficult to identify and address. None of them show up clearly in any measure of sleep. None of them are fixed by going to bed earlier or waking up later. They are happening in the middle of the day, in the middle of ordinary life, in spaces that most people never think to examine as sources of exhaustion. And they accumulate. Week after week, month after month, year after year. If the hidden causes are never addressed, the fatigue deepens. It becomes the baseline. And people stop expecting to feel any other way. What these causes have in common, and what that tells us about the kind of recovery that would actually make a difference, is exactly where we are going next. What decision fatigue, relationship stress, and meaningless work all have in common is this. They are not draining your energy by making you do too much. They are draining it by keeping your nervous system in a state of low-level activation that it was never designed to sustain indefinitely. Your nervous system has two primary modes. One is activated, alert, responsive, ready to deal with threats or demands. The other is at rest, calm, safe, recovered, able to rebuild the resources that activation used up. Real recovery only happens in the second mode, and most people are stuck in the first one for far more of their day than they realize, not because of obvious stress, but because of the quiet, constant background hum of too many choices, too many difficult people, and too much time spent doing things that feel like they do not matter. The solution is not to eliminate all stress, or to quit every job that is not your dream. Real life does not work that way, and that kind of advice is more frustrating than helpful. The solution is to become genuinely aware of where your energy is actually going, and to start being deliberate about protecting it in ways that most people never think to do. On the decision fatigue front, the most effective thing you can do is reduce the number of decisions your brain has to make, not the important ones, but the trivial ones that accumulate through the day without you noticing. Decide what you will eat for the week ahead of time. Lay out your clothes the night before. Create defaults and routines for the small recurring choices that currently happen on the fly. Every decision you remove from your daily cognitive load is a small return of energy to a system that needs it. On the relationship front, it requires honesty, the kind that is uncomfortable but necessary. Not every person in your life adds to your energy. Some consistently subtract from it. And while you may not always be able to remove those people from your life entirely, you can become far more intentional about how much of your limited energy you give to interactions that leave you depleted. Shorter visits, firmer limits on certain conversations, more time with the people who leave you feeling better rather than worse. These are not selfish choices. They are necessary ones for anyone who is serious about not being constantly exhausted. On the meaning front, it does not require a dramatic career change or a complete reinvention of your life. It requires finding or creating small pockets of genuine purpose within whatever life you are currently living. A project that matters to you, a skill you are developing, a contribution, however small, that connects to something you actually care about. The brain does not need everything to be meaningful, but it needs something to be. And when everything feels equally pointless, the energy drain becomes total. None of this is simple. None of it is fixed quickly. But the fact that you are here, that you watched this all the way through, means you are already doing the hardest part, which is being willing to look honestly at what is actually happening, rather than just looking for another sleep tip that will not make a difference. The exhaustion you have been carrying is real. The causes are real. And the path out of it begins exactly here, with understanding what you're actually dealing with. Subscribe, because this channel was built for exactly this kind of honest, specific, genuinely useful conversation about what is happening inside you and why. There is a lot more to explore, and you deserve to feel better than this.